Hi. Well, women are still runners-up in the human race. 100 years since Emily Pankhurst tied herself to the railings, we still don't have equal pay, we're getting 75 pence in the pound, we're still getting concussion hitting our head on the glass ceiling, and we're supposed to clean it while we're up there. So, you know, any woman who calls herself a post-feminist has kept her wonder bra and burnt her brains. But, as we've learned from this summit, the positive thing is that women are also each other's human wonder bras, uplifting, supportive, and making each other look bigger and better. And one woman who certainly hasn't burnt her brains is my friend Catherine Mayer. Not only is she a best-selling biographer, an award-winning journalist, she's also an inspirational feminist who set up the Women's Equality Party. So let's find out today how, exactly, Let's find out today how this party will work as a human wonder bra for all women. I mean, politics is incredibly male-dominated. I mean, whether it's all that talk about members and the size of your election. I mean, even Westminster... You know, even Westminster is dominated by the famously phallic Big Ben. I mean, is that why you decided to start a women's party? How did you and co-founder Sandy Toksvig, found this equality party?
Don't you wish that all political interviewers asked questions like that? And by the way, it's now been renamed the Elizabeth Tower. So the feminisation of Westminster has begun.
Yay!
But unfortunately, size does matter. Do you know that there are more male MPs in Parliament now than there have ever been female MPs?
Yeah, it's not
so, you know, we started this party accidentally. And it continues to be something of a surprise and phenomenon to both of us. I was at a festival that's called the Women of the World Festival, so not this one. And I was at a meeting there of female MPs, and they were all talking about what their parties could do for women. And this was just before the last election, and it was really obvious that nobody there had faith in those women MPs to be able to deliver that. And yet they were all saying good things, they were agreeing with each other, being much more collegiate. So I stood up and said, you know, maybe the way to actually move things along a bit is to do for politics, for gender equality, what UKIP did for the immigration debate. It's not an obvious comparison, but the idea was, you know, if you actually have an appeal to voters, you grab the attention of the mainstream parties. Yeah. You finally get them to start changing. So I rang Sandy Toksvig the next day, said I'd said that, and she told me that she'd had the same idea, and she was organising at the Women of the World Festival a rescue party in which I believe you were a cabinet minister.
I was Minister for Health, and I said the way women could be more healthy is if their men helped more around the house, because it's scientifically proven that no woman ever shot her husband while he was vacuuming. And also, teach them what women really want in bed, breakfast. Am I wrong? No. But... So we all love a party, but why not just be a pressure group? I mean, why do you think it's so important to have our own women's equality party?
As I say, the one language that the political world understands is the power of the ballot box.
Yeah.
There have been fantastic women's groups working and getting some change, but the pace of change has been so slow as to be glacial. And so the idea was, you know, if we actually start a party and people start voting for it, then actually we'll grab the attention of the mainstream parties. They can either work with us or they can decide to steal our policies and look more like us, which is what they did with UKIP.
Yeah.
And either way we win, because it means that gender equality goes to the top of the agenda.
I mean, there's so much women need to achieve, from taking tax off tampons, you know, which is freedom with financial strings attached, getting more women on the FTSE 100, Don't you think? It's time we said to boys, we no longer want your seats on the bus, we want your seats on the board. But in your opinion, what are the key areas we need to focus on when it comes to equality for women? What are the key points of the Women's Equality Party?
Well, we have 6 core objectives. One of the ways in which we're very different from other parties is that we do not want to be a full-service party. One of the many reasons that gender equality gets left behind is because there are so many competing priorities for the other parties. So what we decided to do was to boil it down to 6 propositions that the whole mainstream can agree with. I can't believe anybody in this room would not. And then to set out the ways to get there. So it's equal representation. And you mentioned the FTSE 100. Again, one of those very sad statistics is that there are more men named John leading FTSE 100 companies than there are women. In your native Australia, by the way, I forget what the listing of the top 200 companies is called. It's pretty much the same statistic, except they're called Peter, not John.
Oh, gosh.
So equal representation in Parliament, in the boardroom, and working life. Equal pay. You know, kind of obvious that we should be paid the same for the same work. Equality through and in education. Equal opportunity and responsibility in parenting and in caregiving. We also are tackling that thorny subject, the media. We want to see equal representation of women by and in the media. And of course an end to violence against women.
I mean, who wouldn't agree with all of that?
Exactly.
So the Women's Equality Party it's the fastest growing new political party, and I think 1,300 people joined on the first day, didn't they?
Yes.
So, you know, how have you garnered that amazing support, and how did you get that momentum?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, as most of you know, I co-founded it with Sandy Toksvig, which means that I'm entirely used to being on the stage with a woman who's funnier than I am. I told her about it. She'd had the same idea. She wanted to go in with me, but she had to leave a big job at the BBC in order to do it. So I started organising meetings before there was, if you like, any celebrity quotient. And even so, the appetite for this party was already incredible. It's, you know, people talk about things being viral. I put up a page on Facebook, and we already had about 5,000 likes in about a week. And the first meetings I organised, before there were any big names attached, hundreds of people turned up. So one answer is, the way we've done it is that basically people really want this. It then, of course, helped a lot having Sandy on board, because she is a national treasure. And we are the only party with an MC. You know, there are many things different about this party. We are resolutely non-partisan. We will work with anybody who would like to see gender equality. We allow our members to be members of other parties, and we are the only party with an MC. I said to her, is that Mistress of Ceremonies or Master of Ceremonies? And she said, it depends on the day, darling.
But so explain the process to us. For example, will you be on the ballot in 2016?
We will run candidates in 2016. I keep trying to nudge Sandy into standing for Mayor of London.
Yeah.
The Evening Standard seemed to think that I should stand for that, some kind of nominative determinism there. But I may well stand for the GLA, but I mean, it isn't just in London that we'll be standing. We have, for example, a very active Cardiff branch and a lot of interest in standing in Cardiff, perhaps in Scotland. We have 65 branches across the UK already, including in Northern Ireland.
It's incredible. But I know you want to work with other political parties to bring about women's equality, but can you really imagine Cameron, you know, who part of that patriarchal, you know, all-male drinking club, putting his penis into the thing of a bit of dead livestock? I mean, really, it puts the chauvinist into pig, right? I can't quite imagine. I can't quite imagine them being sympathetic to all of our ideals from the Women's Equality Party.
See, I need mind bleach when I'm talking to you, but trying to not think about that image you've just conjured up. The thing about the reason that men should and will and are already supporting this party is because gender equality is actually incredibly good for the economy, it's good for business, it's good for society, it's good for them. And so the reason that we have a bit of work to do to get them past the name, and, some of them obviously think it's a zero-sum game and that giving us equality means taking away from them, which is of course not the case. But luckily there's an awful lot of research that will just show how much wealthier this country would be. And, this country has struggled a bit to define what its role is in the current age. Wouldn't it be good if Britain defined itself as the first place anywhere in the world to bring about true gender equality?
Yeah, dream on. One of your objectives is to change the way that women's issues are addressed in the education system.
Yes.
Now, why do you think it's so important to teach teachers?
Precisely, it's not so much the teachers. A lot of teachers are very aware of this, but it's precisely because of the way that it starts so young, the gender divisions, and also the school curriculum. There are so few women actually featured in the curriculum. We've been expunged from history.
Well, it's his story.
Yes.
Her story would be very, very welcome.
Well, we'd settle for balanced his and her story.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets worse.
But you and Sandy are the founding mothers of the party, but what about any founding fathers? I mean, are men encouraged to join?
Yeah.
How do blokes come into the equation? Do you think we run the risk of alienating the male population by having a party that's just focused on women's issues?
Well, see, I would just say that's one of the key educational drivers here is we talk about these things as women's issues, and they're not women's issues, they're people issues.
Yeah.
It's interesting, we've got a lot of men joining. We have a man on the founding committee. There are men involved right the way through the party. But a lot of the men saying they want to support us say, we want to support you to give more support to women to look after children. And we say, we're really grateful, but can you just think about this a bit more?
Yeah. We'd like to teach them a few other things, that the Kama Sutra is not an Indian takeaway, and mutual orgasm is an insurance company. No, so we'd add a few more things. But in the last election, I mean, it's incredible that almost 15 million women, I think that's a statistic, abstained from voting. Yeah. So, when you think of what the suffragettes went through, and they put the suffer into suffragettes, you kind of want to force-feed them statistics on how many women were force-fed. It's such an urgent issue that we address women's equality.
Yeah.
I just can't believe it's taken us this long to get our own party. But for all our audience members, what's the best way of becoming engaged in the movement? I mean, how can they all join and lend their support?
So many different ways. There's almost nothing we don't need. It turns out that it is unbelievably expensive doing politics in this country, which is one of the reasons that it is a preserve still of people who come from wealthy backgrounds and often are white and wear suits and called Dave. The thing about it, I mean, for example, if we want to run for Mayor of London, run Sandy for Mayor of London, that's a £10,000 deposit and another £10,000 for leaflets as a mandatory thing. Campaigning is incredibly expensive. But what I'd really just like is for everybody here to join. I have something rather wonderful here. They gave me the #1 card for the Women's Equality Party. Our founding membership will come to an end on the 20th of October because we are launching our first tranche of policies, a really big document on the 20th of October to show how it's going to be done. www.womensequality.org.uk. Please join.
And notice we're wearing our suffragette colours. She's got the badge, I've got the outfit.
Original suffragette brooch.
So why don't you all join and become, you know, a human wonder bra? Thank you to Catherine Mayer.